Okay, so we're in standard 12.0, and we're going to combine this whole unit with 13.0. So we need to start off with 12 before we move on to 13. It says simplify fractions with polynomials in the numerator and denominator by factoring both and reducing them to lowest terms. Okay, so these are your key words. With a simplify, make things easier to deal with. And right here, factoring. You have to factor everything for this unit. And reduce them to lowest term. Reducing is something where you cross things out in the numerator, like if I had 10 over 10 and it cross out, that's reducing. Okay, but we have to factor first. 7a, students simplify rational expressions and describe the reason for reducing. Why do we do that? What is it? What is the method? What do we get out of it, etc. Again, finish this first. I can't tell you how important division is. Super important. If you're still on adding, subtracting, multiplying, we got to get it all the way to the end. This is middle school and elementary school math skills. You need to get all the way to the end. Okay, so this is your do now question. It's asking you to factor each item. So these two are monomials on this side, and when we factor these out, we're just doing factor trees. So this one is going to be, I don't know, 9 times 6, and 2 times 3. Oh, sorry, 3 times 3. And this one is 2 times 3. Okay, so cross this one out, cross this one out. And in total will be 3, 3, 3, 2. So 2 times 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 z's. 1, 2, 3. I know Ms. Castellanos taught you this. 2 times 3 cubed times 3 cubed, z cubed. As long as you know that these two are the same, that's fine. Okay, for the second term, 12 times 2, and 2 times 6, and 2 times 3, not prime, not prime. So 2, 2, 2, 3, y, z. Okay. This one, GCF, because it's only 2 terms, we start GCF every single time. 3 and 9 share a common factor of 3. If I divide this one by 3, 3 times 1, and this one by 3, 3 times 3, my leftover should be, this one is outside, 1x minus 3. I will check for difference of squares, but there is none, so I'm pretty much done. This one, a little bit different. 3 terms, 1, 2, 3. I'm going to go to X box. 1 times 6 is 6, negative 5 on the bottom. My two mystery numbers are going to be negative 2 and negative 3. Fill in the box. And we'll get x squared, positive 6, negative 2, x, and negative 3x. And our GCFs, which are our answers, are x, negative 2, x, and negative 3. X times x, check. X times negative 2, good. X times negative 3, good. Negative 3, negative 2, positive 6, good. Okay, so these items, these words, should be pretty commonplace for you guys. So we'll be using this throughout the lesson. Okay. Now these two were from the do now. Okay, so I'm going to rewrite them so that way I don't have to factor them out. You should already know what they are. So on top, this is equal to 3 times 3 times 3 times 2 times z, z, and z. The denominator should be 2 times 2 times 2 times 3. Yes, that's 4 times 6. That's right. Okay, times y times z. Now I chose these from the do now specifically because you should already know how to factor these items out. Okay, now we're gonna start just canceling things out. That's all there is to it. Okay, on top and bottom, what's the same? 3 and 3, 2 and 2, z and z. Anything left? No? Okay. So once we're done, we'll multiply everything together. 3 times 3 is 9. This one. And I got a z and a z. 9z squared. Our denominator should be 2 times 2, which is 4y. Okay, that's all we want. That's it. That's reducing. All we did was factor. This is what you learned today. Cross out, cross out, cross out, cross out, cross out, cross out. That's all that you learned. Okay, 21. Again, we're going to factor the top and the bottom. 21 is going to be 7 times 3 times B times C. Again, this is your division skills. Should be pretty much automatic by now, autopilot. 28 is going to be 4 times 7, and 4 is not prime, so I'm going to get rid of that. Should be 2 times 2. Now let me rearrange this a little bit. It's in the front. Okay, and we've got B times C, B and C squared. 1, 2. Now remember when we cross these out, 7, 7, they're the same. This is why. They make a 1. You have to be able to distinguish why we cross things out. Okay, this is reducing. We're making 1s all the way across. Okay, when I multiply by 1, it goes away. So 3 times 1 times 1 times 1 gives me 3. On the bottom, I've got 2 times 2 times C times 1 times 1 times 1, which is 4C. Okay, this is an old skill. You should know this already. I wish your elementary teachers taught you reducing this way as a form of 1. Okay, these become slightly more complicated because you have to use your skills from last unit, factoring. So this first one right here is a difference of squares. I see a perfect square, and a difference. So y squared minus 64, I should have a pattern. Plus and minus. The first one should be y times y. The second one should be 8 times 8. Okay, so let me rewrite this section here as the factors. This one is across the top. Okay, there's my numerator. Again, some of the vocabulary that we've been using. And here's our denominator, y plus 8. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to line these two up. These two still make a big 1. This represents a very large 1 because y plus 8 is one number and y plus 8 is one number. So they go away. My final answer should be y minus 8 over, well, that's just a 1, which I don't really need. No one says I'm 14 years old divided by 1, except for cool math teachers. Okay, well, probably not 14 years old. Okay, next one. Same thing, difference of squares. Down here, you have to be able to identify this number, difference of squares. Okay, so z squared minus 1. 1 is a perfect square, the one that people usually forget, and z squared. Here's my pattern, plus and a minus. I'm guessing my plus is going to cancel out because I see a plus over there. Z squared is going to be z and z. 1 is going to be 1 times 1. So this one is my numerator. And my denominator should be, oh, sorry, that's my denominator. I got that backwards. There we go. And my numerator should be z plus 1. Z plus 1. Again, this is my gigantic 1. Now this is the one that usually confuses people because after they cancel everything out, they say all I have left is z minus 1. Yes, but that's in the denominator. If it's in the bottom, it has to stay there. On top, there's a 1. Okay, the ones in the bottom can disappear. The ones on top cannot just disappear. Okay, last teacher do. This one requires us to factor the top and the bottom. Okay, so here's the top portion. Let's factor out this top portion right here. We did this in the do now. This should be 3 times x minus 3. Check your do now question. We factored that already. Here's your denominator. Okay, we did this in the do now also. X minus 3 times x minus 2. Okay, all that's in your do now, double check. This is why we reduce, because it creates a beautiful, beautiful 1. It goes away, and our final answer should be 3 divided by x minus 2. Okay, this is our answer. Good. Okay, yours is a little bit easier because then you only have to factor the top and not the bottom. Sometimes these bottom ones cannot, or the top ones, either one cannot be factored. Sometimes it's just parts. This one, don't get tricked. I know it says y minus 9, and we know 9 is a perfect square. This is not difference of squares because y is not a perfect square. Okay, so don't get tricked. Y squared minus 7y minus 18, 3 terms. I'm always going to use my xbox. You could do factor by grouping, but I like the xbox. Negative 18 on top, negative 7 on the bottom, negative 9 and positive 2. Create my box. Y squared, negative 18, negative 9y, and positive 2y. The GCF of this group is going to be y, negative 9, y, and positive 2. So this top portion right here should be y minus 9 times y plus 2. Okay, here's all my side work. This type of stuff is important. It should be on your paper somewhere, okay, not on your desk and erased, because this is all the work that you have. Okay, so please make sure it doesn't disappear. Shrink this down a little bit. Move it off to the side. That's what scratch paper is for. That way you can attach it to your work. Center this thing. Our denominator is going to be just y minus 9. And these two create a big, gigantic 1. That is our objective today. Okay, we have to be able to identify that. Again, if it's on top, it can stay there, and there could be a 1 on the bottom. So y plus 2 over 1 is fine. But if it's on the bottom, it has to stay on the bottom. Okay, now let's quickly go back to our objective. It says our objective here is the reason for reducing factors of 1. That's what you have to be able to explain. Why do we cross things out? And the reason is because they turn into a gigantic 1. Okay, that's what you need to be able to explain. This is your exit slip. Again, show all your work, post on Edmodo. These are your only grades for this standard, for standard 12.0, okay, until you take your test. So these are very, very important. There are 2 questions on there as well. Complete the sentence type stuff. If you don't answer those questions, I'm just going to mark it 0. That's very important. It helps me guide what you're thinking. Lets me know what I need to work on the next time, etc. Okay. Today we're only doing 2 stations, independent on the computer. I'm going to give you guys a couple days to catch up on the Rev Prep. It is important. I haven't put a new one on there yet, but there will be for the next unit. Okay, I will put a new unit on there. There should be one for every day. And then in the middle, the back of your worksheet, there's a practice, which we're going to work on together. That is required before you leave. Okay, must complete this one. Must complete before leaving class. Okay. Okay. All right, we're gonna do some practice. If you haven't already done so, get your whiteboards out and markers ready.